So, I guess I'll start with the first date that I thought was kind of significant in tying in Juno missions to Back to the Future 2, or 1 actually, the whole series in general, but one release date in July 4th or 3rd I thought was kind of interesting because that's when Juno did its orbital insertion. Again, 16 plus 17, you get 33. I just thought that was also kind of funny. And it's right there. And 5 is significant in this whole demonstration as well. So this is more or less what made me do this movie. Because I've been kind of debating whether or not to put this out, but I mean, so Stephen King comes out with a book. It's about a time traveler who goes back in time to stop the JFK assassination, which occurred 11/22. I mean, that date we should all know. So he makes an announcement about the book on his official website, March 2nd, 2011. I mean, Skull and Bones 322, 11 left over. And the book comes out, published November 8th, 11/8/88. That's the most significant number pretty much in Back to the Future. There was an adaptation. They made an announcement on September 22. And that had 8 episodes. And it came out 3/15, 2/15. And it looks like I highlighted April 4/4 when it ended. It's odd. Alright, so I'm on the Wikipedia here showing you some significant dates that and numbers that I really don't know why I haven't seen on any video breakdowns of this, the numerology of this video. More importantly, the distance between JFK's assassination and the release date of the second installment of the video is 26 years. And I'm going to show you why that's significant. I mean, right off the bat, 2 divided by 6 is 33, so it's a representation of 33, but beneath the surface. 33 is important, but what needs to be seen as well is how you can achieve 33 in other ways that are a little bit more deceptive. So yeah, once again, release date November 22nd, that's 1122, which is 33. So this is the release date of Back to the Future 2, November 22nd, 1989 to September 11th, and it just so happens to be 11 years and 9 months. Here just showing some dashboard stuff and some significant dates This is Back to the Future 2 release date to October 21 this year. Actually, today's date while I'm recording this. That's 26 years, 11 months. So I do the release date to that number on the dash, which was last year, which was all the hype, media hype last year, and that shows up 14 years, 1 month, 11 days. Yeah, so this could be broken down like a few different ways, but what I thought was more significant was this year's date, because you could get a 666 out of this by breaking this down to 6 and multiplying the 111. I thought that was odd, and then it gets increasingly more odd when you change it to the 26 date and you get 116, which was what this is all about in the beginning in the other videos that I linked. But why did nobody mention that the runtime of the original release, Back to the Future 1, was 116? Nobody really mentioned that. I'll have to check other videos like I said, but I don't think that was mentioned. Yeah, it was funny when I actually matched the two things together, because I really was in a lull of like research and was just thinking back at some of the first stuff I covered, which was Juno, and thinking, if it really wasn't real, what was the symbolism and stuff that they were trying to portray through the numbers. And immediately I thought of the flux capacitor, and wow, like we're talking about Back to the Future last year, and it's still in the news. It's still coming up. They're releasing the shoes, and my theory is they want you to think on the 30-year gap, but what it is it's more than that. Or the 30-year gap started in 86, because it is us interpreting the movie a year later. And that's why I make those calculations. But from Juno's start time, it's 26 years from the original release of Back to the Future 1, and 31 years to the orbital insertion, so they say, that happened this July. Other dates that are important are, you see me highlight 2018, after completing 37 orbits, or 37, it does 2 more, and on the 39th, crashes. And why I think 39, well, you see me highlight 33 seconds here, and then I don't highlight it, but right after that it says 4 minutes and 26 seconds. The number is very apparent throughout my calculations and in the movie. And that, to me, 26 is just 33. Like 2 divided by 6 is 33. So they had something planned, and why it even correlates more, like Juno had a malfunction or something, and Scott Bolton was talking about it. I mean, this was yesterday. This was October 21st. It was a year after the day on the dash. Yeah, so they put Legos on it, blah, blah, blah. Here's some of the dates. Yeah, maybe you guys can correlate some stuff yourself that I might have missed. But you see 1211 is the inverse of 1112, which was one of the numbers on the dash too, and they just rescheduled that number. I'm not kidding. That was part of that conference, and I'll include some of that. February is an important date there at the bottom, and you'll see me do that calculation in 1 second. It yields 32 years, 7 months, practically 33. Or it could be seen as frozen, like 32 going to 33, like becoming liquid. And that's on the 39th rotation. This is the release date of 3 to 9/11, and it's 11 years, 3 months. So you can reduce that to 33. So this is the release date of the 3rd installment to a date about to happen, which is 26 years. So quickly, this is Back to the Future 3's release date and then Stephen King's book, and that yields 21 years, 11 months. This is the 11/12/1955 date. It's infamous in Back to the Future, and Kennedy's supposed assassination date, and that yields you 8 years, 11 days. Which is 88, and you know, I've already said why that's significant, and yeah, I guess I highlight the 33 there or whatever. Next thing I do is the 5, which is also significant, and I guess I just show that to show that even that yields you the 2 8s. Here's those dates again. And you see the 11/12/1955. And I'm sure the times might even be significant themselves. Okay, I think I show this date again. This might be the second time. It's good to see it again. This is the release date to Back to the Future 2, and 9/11 is exactly 11 years and 9 months. And then the 21 days can be interpreted as, you know, 777, I guess, if you really wanted to go that far. This is Back to the Future 2 release date, and today's date is 26 years, 11 months. And I've explained why 26 is important. October itself, if you look at October, you have, it's the 10th month. October 21 could be looked at as Friday the 13th, but yeah, there's 10/26, and you got 26 and 11 months, 5 days, which can be looked at as 55, which is another significant number within the series. In some of the videos that I watched, they talk about the concept of 2 going into 1, and it's apparent, yeah, it's definitely there, both in the 9/11 symbolism with the Twin Towers becoming the One World Trade Center, and in the movie where it goes from Lone Pine to Twin Pine and back. But I think also within the Y of the flux capacitor in the background of Marty McFly, you see 2 going into 1 here. 2 paths leading into 1. Even further, what was hard to explain without commentary in the video I originally released was, you know, Y2K was this big event, and nothing ended up happening on 2000 that night, midnight, and but something did happen the next year in September that was, you know, that was really change. And why I find Y2K significant is with relation to the movie, the 30-year cycle, or a 31-year cycle, or, you know, 2 30-year cycles running side by side could also be possible. You know, 2 rings. You see him hold up 2 rings in the famous scene. I'll show that in a second. But picture 2 rings that are 30 years apart, like running simultaneously. It would give you, you know, there was a lot in the media last year about Back to the Future, because it was, you know, it was the date last year, this time, in which it became in the past. 15 years would have been Y2K, from the release of Back to the Future. Exactly. But you see a lot of 16 symbolism. There's a couple things that I'm not sure if Jenna's pointed out, but I will show where it shows a 16, and yeah, it could be 16 years from the day the movie was released, 9/11 was going to happen. Or it could be that they're showing you like the pattern. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just going to play the video here. So he comes in saying like all the hype, all the hype. They bring the hype, so they're, you know.
All the talk of Y2K bugs and Y2K terrorists, well now, Y2K hackers ready to attack computers all over the place at midnight Friday. The Fox report now from Brett Baer.
Yeah, they just know it. And here's the report on it.
Many security experts fear an all-out assault on computer systems around the globe.
Oh no.
The Y2K bug, but cyber terrorism by computer hackers.
So they were already talking about this like years ago, like with the cyber terrorism, but now it's pretty prevalent in the media, especially right now, which would be 16 years from when this was made. So you can see that again. And what's the place's name? ISS, and it's no longer named this company. International or Internet Security Systems was bought out by IBM, I believe. I can look into that, but it's really not necessary for what I'm trying to explain. This is now the International Space Station. Or if you add one more I here, you're just going to get ISIS. So you could consider this to be some predictive programming for ISIS itself, which is now a 16. See this 16-year wheel just turning.
Heads up Internet Security Systems, a company that protects computers at the largest commercial banks, telecommunications companies, and 35 federal agencies.
So yeah, they were freaking out.
There's some people that'll think Y2K is a great time to make a statement, an opportune moment to have an impact.
Yeah, kind of like if you're a media outlet and you want to like pump up some hype, it would have been a great time, and that's what they did.
Somebody's website will be hacked.
And then nothing happened on 2000, so everyone took a deep breath and exhaled, and it was great. Okay, we're gonna get through this. Everyone was all chilled out, and then all of a sudden something happened, and people are tense, and I think it's gonna come out of nowhere. Something might happen. It's brewing soon. A lot of people were thinking last year with the correlations with the movie and it becoming in the past, but I think that much like Y2K was a warning for 9/11, kind of, this, we might be getting a warning for something to come. In 2016, we really don't have much time left in this year, so who knows what's going to happen.
Government websites are being shut off for the weekend. Among others, the Defense Department's Finance and Accounting page and the Office of Personnel Management website will be offline to protect against computer hackers.
Raising level, infocon level 2.
The U.S. Air Force has
It's all so fucking stupid.
to shut off their websites.
When you're in the attack phase, you can become anonymous and completely hidden.
Just when you see those shots, you just gotta laugh, because like a cameraman has to get those shots. Hold on. Like where he came up behind, like DEFCON 2, DEFCON 2, like they obviously had to like tell this guy like what was gonna happen camera wise for this to go smoothly. Then they brought it right into his face. It's so like theatrical, it's not even funny.
offline to protect against computer hackers.
Raising level, infocon level 2.
The U.S. Air Force has given each base permission to shut off their website.
Yep, that was the moment that they shut off the website. Wow, did you catch that, guys? Holy shit.
You can become anonymous and completely hidden.
John Copeland.
So yeah, they're just hyping the shit out of this, and what I want to get to is, oh yeah, nothing happened. It was a bunch of bullshit. But then fast forward a year later, and we have this.
Possibility that flies will enter the room. Using 8 Kleenexes placed in the left hand, the man who's rapidly waving the newspaper will knock on the door. When HRH responds, the man will...
Okay, so I originally wasn't even looking for like synchronicities in like what he was saying, but it's very odd that we hear him say 8 and then Kleenex, which Kleenex starts with K, so you got 8 and 11 right there for 88, and then he says H and R, H and H, which I thought he says 8 and 8, but he says H and H, which is actually 8 and 8 because H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, so that's simple gematria, and so you have an 88 again. And that's not even really what I was looking for, but I figured I would mention it, and it's at 8 o'clock, 8:51.
Open the door using the hand with the Kleenex. I mean...
Right, as opposed to the dirty hand. I mean, hello, Howard, you know. The man was a bit compulsive, let's face it, but on the other...
And then to further connect it with some of the themes that some of these people presented in the video, I think it was Polarization Nation, he was talking about the transgender priming agenda of that movie, and some of his other movies he covers, he breaks that down. I think this is a clear link to that too, because you have a effeminate man talking about this brilliant...
He was absolutely the most amazing man that America has ever created.
Okay, I have got to interrupt you right now.
Sorry.
Richard Hack, thank you very much.
So his name is Richard Hack, and you can also relate the hack to Y2K, the hacking that's going on now. I mean, Richard Hack, Dick Hack, like get your dick cut off. I mean, sorry to be a little bit, you know, vulgar, I guess, but I'm trying to prove a point that, you know, maybe that's part of the synchronicities. They script, you saw him reading from a script, this like outlandish little, I don't know if it's like an excerpt from the book, but it really is odd here.
Enter the room. Using 8 Kleenexes placed in the left hand, the man who's rapidly waving the newspaper will knock on the door. When HRH responds, the man will open the door using the hand with the Kleenex. I mean...
Yeah, he read that whole thing. I mean, this was what they wanted. The producers wanted him to say this.
As opposed to the dirty hand. I mean, hello, Howard, you know. The man was a bit compulsive, let's face it, but on the other hand, he was absolutely the most amazing man that America has ever created, ever.
Okay, I have got to interrupt you right now.
Sorry.
Richard Hack, thank you very much. We appreciate the book is called Hughes. We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center, where I understand, do we have it? No, we do not. We have a breaking story, though. We're going to come back with that in just a moment. First, this is Today on NBC.
Okay, so they cut out...
As Matt just mentioned, we have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York.
And so then they break the story when they come back from commercial. I'm not really going to go too much more in depth here.
Point in time, but on the phone, we do have Jennifer Oberstein.
Shock right now. I came out of the subway at Bowling Green. I was heading to work in Battery Park at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and I come out, and I heard a boom, looked up, and there was a big ball of fire. I'm now looking north at the World Trade Center, and it is the left twin tower if I'm looking north. I'm in Battery Park right now, and you can hear the fire engines and the emergency crews behind me, and it is unbelievable. When the fire first burst, it was a... Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
In air like I've never seen before, and as you know, I used to work in news. I've never seen any fire like this in the air, and the pieces of the building were flying down. It looks like it's like the top, I can't even tell you, maybe 20 floors. Intense smoke. It's horrible. I can't even describe it.
Do you have any idea what kind of plane it was?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any idea what hit the World Trade Center?
What it was?
Yeah, what kind of plane? We're getting reports that an airplane hit the building.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Honestly, I was walking up, and it looked up and saw a big boom and fire. You know, I got to tell you, we were all saying around here that it was very interesting that it would be a bomb and it would be so high up.
So this is now where I go into Back to the Future clips, and I just figure I'd pause it and show you a few things. We got 33, 33, and then you also have 51, which correlates with that broadcast we just watched, 851. And that it clearly shows 51. I want everyone to see that. And you got 76 with 2 coming down. See, yeah, it was 51. Now, I've seen interviews on other people's channels where the director and some of these people were describing the scene they made there. Everything is complete detail, and that is important to know. They like reshape the town. Okay, so we got Y here, and then we have the green. He's looking at the clock. I mean, not really much going on there. We got the Nike Saturn symbolism there. Yeah, there's a black and a white car here. You got the Zales Diamond. We know Diamond to be 33 in Pythagorean Gematria. And I did see the breakdown, or like it was like a special feature, I guess somebody featured Polarization Nation, and it showed that they built a lot of this in the background. So a lot of this can be analyzed because they explained that it needed to be right, you know, it had to be perfect. And there's where the 6 kind of shows up, and then a 1. I do later, I pencil it in. And that's, I don't know if other channels, I'm going to go over channels and make sure that if I credit somebody that have found that before me. But I see a 16 there, and that's one of the clips that they show on MSM a lot, is when it actually hits. There's your Y. 2 coming into 1. There's the 9 in the background, which was put there. It was part of the prop. It wasn't something that was pre-existing in that plaza. Okay, so, okay. I rolled it back just a little bit. So, you got the double ring around the clock. He's sliding. You got the 911. And when it goes to the dash here, I want to pause it because, alright, what is going on? I mean, this, I don't think that they would throw this in here unless it meant something. The speedometer went in reverse. How does that make sense? He's not at the 88 yet. Are they trying to show that he's beginning to go back in time here as he approaches 88? Because it's kind of odd to me that they would show it at 33:051, clicking almost up to 52, and then now it's back to 44, and this is no longer 76, it's 68. I mean, is this just them like throwing together pieces, hoping that nobody notices that, or is that symbolic? 33 minus 44, you're going to get an 11, and you get 6, 8, I guess 7, almost 6 to 9. So it could be like 6, 9 if 6 was 9. And that's kind of how this started, like I said, with the reversing the 9. On 116, you got 86, 87, 88, and this is, you know, them hitting that pivotal number. You got your 911 above there. 911 again, Beantown, you know, overshadowing that. He's coming to bring it together. Here's barbershop. The barbershop is significant. I'm uncovering symbolism behind the coil barbershop. So boom, comes down. Connection, power. And I'll throw this in here too. The Twin Towers, if you look at it, it's almost like a symbol of power. People always say that, and I don't know if this is something that I never understood, but when you think of a power like plugs, it's almost like there's like two giant holes there, like a plug, like you plug it in. It's like the power, and it's obviously duality, but yeah, so he's plugging in to get Marty to go back in time. And you got the Beantown there, which is weird. Empty car, okay. That's what I think. And then you go for a couple frames and there's two people there. I think, anyway. So that's strange. I don't know if that's something that they want you to see. He connects it together, the power goes together, and you hit the cable. It's very symbolic. I don't know if that's an axis. They did that on purpose, but it's cool. Just see that. It's like a straight axis, the X and the Y. Put you in the frame of time. So that could be something, but you got your diamonds here in the back, in the barber shop, elite barber shop, white car, black car. From this, but when you go this way and when you see the car, these all black cars, and from an above view here, it actually is kind of spooky, because I've seen this movie a bunch of times as a kid, and there's 4 black cars over here, 4 black cars over here. I think maybe this is a white one or a bluish one, I forget, but it just gave me this creepy feeling of like these shadowy entities here overseeing this event. I don't know, this kind of forms like a 55. And he's like, whoa, blinks twice. And this, when I first noticed that, the records, like the blue record, I think, I just thought of like blue records, blueprint. This whole scene is like the blueprint for understanding events, understanding our timeline. Yeah, he's got a shirt with like little squiggly lines on there, like a sine wave. Okay, so moving towards, turning left, blinks twice. There's another shot of him blinking twice. So when I see him blink twice and I see the blueprint in the background, I think that they're referring to like things are going to occur twice. And that's what I'm seeing. Like I'm seeing them bring up the 30-year anniversary last year, but it's also coming back in various ways. I saw Elon Musk. Elon's coming out with a Tesla car. Like, they have going doors, and it's, to me, it's like a tribute to the DeLorean. I think of DeLorean and about like the solar system and how us being lured into the framework of time, falling out of the garden, if you think of it as like symbolic religion and stuff, falling out of the garden, falling into the framework of time, out of the oneness and into duality. I was thinking about like the DeLorean as the time travel. It like, while you're being lured as a soul into the time matrix, the DeLorean is able to unlure you out of the trap of time, and give you that ability to control your fate, I guess. So yeah, there's the Beantown reference, blinking twice. I think that is significant because, you know, the September 11th attacks, there were 2 planes. There's the 1-6. There were 2 planes, but there were also 2 World Trade Center attacks, like the one that happened before. And what scares me is Boston bombings could have been like the Phantom attack before the real one. There was a Phantom NY bombing in New York that happened 9/18, which also is a representation of 999. So that we could be seeing like the inversion. I'm just seeing all these like inversions. Like, it wasn't in Boston, but it was in NY, and it was real similar to the Boston one. It could be like a prelude to the bigger Boston event that happens in 2016. I don't want anything to happen, obviously, but this is very strange to me, all these correlations, and I'll go deeper into that too. So yeah, like he blinks twice and you get this 16. The 16 could mean in 16 years from the release of 1, September 11th may happen. Or it could mean something's going to happen in 2016. Or it could in fact mean both, that there's an event 16 years on September 11th, and there's an event in 2016. There's an 11 there, you get your Y.
Imagine having an object that is like a transducer for the power of space-time, all the information of the universe in that point. When you're close to it, there's a lot of information transduction that's going through your DNA. That could make you be able to do things that the average human beings cannot do. It's like a little torque on your space-time reality. All right?
So not only are you able to see like a hexagon and shine off of Marty McFly's pic in the intro, other channels mention that, but I found that to be like a reoccurring theme, and you'll see that basically that hexagon formation is just a Y and then a Y in reverse forming down. So that's why I see a lot of correlations to the 64-phase tetrahedrogram that he was explaining in that breakdown. And he's a physicist who was just trying to understand the makeup of reality and then finding interesting numeral breakdowns found basically from the books of the Bible. Then I can go into more detail on 26 symbolism, but you'll see it in his demonstration, and I can explain why 26, all the numbers are interrelated, like they all basically mean the same thing, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said here, you're starting to get that shape off of that reflection, which the try, this as above, so below, it's like the peace sign without the peace down here, and then you have the upside down, or the right side up Y, which fits in. And you'll see how this complete pattern is made from just overlying circles, and you get the Vesca Pisces here, and that's like the cell splitting or layering of time. But what happens is you have these petals form after all the overlapping, and you saw this same ingrained geometric formation on those old buildings and stuff.
At a recent press conference, famous videographer James Cameron and filmmaker Simcha Jakovovicki presented a controversial documentary called The Last Tomb of Jesus. Their research reports on an ancient family tomb found under a construction site and documented by archaeologists in 1980. The controversy comes from the cluster of names that was discovered engraved on some of the ossuaries. One of the most prominent inscriptions reads, Joshua, son of Joseph, or Jesus, son of Joseph. Another bears the inscription Maria, or the modern Maria, and yet another read Marianne Mara in Greek, which may correspond to Mary Magdalena, as Marianne is the name found in the Acts of Philip to describe her. Though the names found on some of the ossuaries are common, it is significant to find all of these names with biblical references clustered in the same family tomb. More significant for our purposes is that it seems that many ossuaries of the first-century Judea Christians bared a very specific geometric configuration. For example, the ossuary marked Marianne Mara bears very defined geometric decorations that in the context of our research have extreme significance. Indeed, once again we find the very structure of the cube octahedron, or vector equilibrium, engraved on an ancient artifact. It is even carved in such a way that the lobes or petal structures of the matrix are apparent in 3D. The same typical geometry is found on other ossuaries, one of which is marked Judah, son of Joshua. Certainly the claim that Mary Magdalena and Joshua may have had a child is controversial, but the symbols that are found on these ossuaries and others from the 1st century AD have striking significance. It is as well significant to note that both the one called Joshua or Emmanuel and Mary Magdalena were in some traditions considered to be a representation of the living ark. These symbols, as well as we have seen earlier, are found in many different traditions, and specifically in the Egyptian Osirian temple. This temple is associated with the resurrection of Osiris, with the help of his consort Isis, and may denote the structure of space-time and some of the most powerful and profound knowledge of the time. Significantly above the entrance of the tomb was a unique facade, a carefully crafted chevron and circle that mystified the archaeologists. In the words of Dr. Shimon Gibson, one of the archaeologists present at the opening of the tomb, there's no doubt about it that those symbols meant something. It's unlikely that the family or the person that came and carved out the tomb just carved these things at random. They had to symbolize something. What they symbolized, I don't know, but it's quite rare to find that kind of ornamentation on a simple tomb. Interestingly, thousands of years prior, at the beginning of the Pyramid Age, a mysterious conical stone, deemed to have cosmic origins, is found in ancient Egyptian traditions. The Bin stone was housed in the Temple of the Phoenix and was associated with regeneration, rebirth, and celestial cycles, and was thought to be the divine seed. The Bin stone disappeared long before Herodotus, an earlier Greek historian, visited Egypt, but not before it had relegated its name to the apex stone placed on top of pyramids or obelisks. One such example was found from the Pyramid of Amenemhet III and is housed at the Cairo Museum. It bears the inscription, King Amenemhet III sees the beauty of the sun. He sees the Lord of the horizon sailing in his boat over the sky. Would this be the Lord of the event horizon flying in his ship in the sky? Interestingly, this most sacred object is almost a perfect match to the so-called chevron found at the entrance of what may be one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of our time. The chevron and circle is typical of the symbology of the ancient Egyptian all-seeing eye. Again, we see that this most important symbol in the Egyptian tradition was used to describe a fractional series from half to the magic fractional structure 1/64. The symbol is as well found as representation of ultimate power on the top altar of Mayan temples and is depicted on walls in various ancient locations of the Americas.
I continued to study some more, and I realized that tetragrammaton in Cabalistic tradition is typically denoted or described as this triangle structure with in this case, the letters of God in it. And if you actually look at the way the letters of God are laid out in it, it's like an isotropic vector metric. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 4 layers to the isotropic vector metric. If you took the first layer here, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom, 3 in the middle, 2 here, and then 1 on top. Just like the way these letters are laid. And the Kabbalistic tradition are very clear that you shouldn't take the letters at face value, that actually each letter has a mathematical number attached to it, and that it's the numbers that have a meaning as well. So if you look at the numbers of the tetragrammaton, then it's 10, 5, 10, 6, 5, 10, and 5, 6, 5, 10, and they all add up to 72. And sure enough, in the Bible and various texts, you find that the number of God is 72, or the number of faces of God, or the great name of God is 72. So it all works. It's really nice. The thing is that this is only a male God. It's missing its better half. Remember? It's missing its polarity. And so, imagine that you wanted to leave a code on a planet that's not so evolved, but you wanted to leave the code so that it would give them great power at an important time in history. But you wanted to make sure that it could not be decoded until they were ready for it. How would you do it? When maybe one way you would do it would be to give the code in a polarity way, so that you would have to have a civilization come to the realization of the equalities of polarity before they could decode the code. So, and that would most likely be a society that's ready for that type of power. So, when you take the male tetragrammaton and you add the female one, or the positive and the negative one, then you have to add a second isotropic vector metric. So the result is that you would have to double this number. 72 twice is 144. 144 is in the book of Revelation as a very important number for the new and the changes of the new world. When you put 64 tetrahedrons together and you get this fractal vectorial array, you get exactly 144 faces on its outside surface. And so that was getting compelling. But the Cabalistics didn't stop there. The Cabalistic traditions said, well, actually, if you want to truly understand the power of the Tetragrammaton, the power of God, if you want to understand the root of creation, you must decode this tree, which was thought to be the tree of knowledge, which is analogous to the tree at the center of the Garden of Eden. This was thought to be the foundation of creation, and that if anyone could decode this, they would hold the key to creation. There's a lot of writing in Cabalistic tradition that says as well that it shouldn't be attempted to be decoded because most people that have gone crazy. And so I took those warnings seriously, and I thought, well, I'm most likely already crazy. Well, I live in a van, you know. I'm studying all this crazy stuff. I must be okay, you know. It won't hurt me that much. So I went at it. And I studied and I studied and I studied and I tried to figure it out. And I couldn't really figure it out. I was really bugging on it because it was getting so complex. So many texts I was reading about this were so complex and so philosophical, and they had all these realms and dimensions and all this. I couldn't figure it out. And then I decided to draw it, and I plastered it on the ceiling of my van so that when I would wake up in the morning, I could just stare at it and try to figure it out. And so I'm in the van in the morning, and I look at it, and then, you know, fairly rapidly I realize that there's a tetrahedron on the bottom of it. Okay, this part here is a tetrahedron if it's seen in 3D. And then I looked up here and I realized that in 3D, those lines would generate as well a noctahedron. See, the thing is that most people don't see this thing as a 3D object. So flatten, it makes not much sense. But in 3D, it describes very specific geometry. So because I had this type of 3D mind, and I was always very intended on not doing the flat thing, I was trying to visualize this in 3D. But I couldn't figure out this middle box thing. I just couldn't figure it out. For weeks, months. Just like, you know, laying in my bed looking at this thing and studying and all this. And then one day, I said, wait a minute. I realized that one of those boxes in the middle here, okay, matches the box in the top portion of the octahedron. So I thought, what if I slid the middle part box in the upper box and see what it generates? So I split them in two, and then I slid the bottom part into the top part. And when I did so, it was like a key, right? It just locked in and generated all the vectors necessary to have a tetrahedron and an octahedron, one on top of each other. So now I had all these vertices for 3D geometry. These are the only geometry necessary to produce a 64 tetrahedron grid. So I knew I was close. So I started to, I got really excited, and I continued studying and intensely studying, and I realized something is that the Cabalistic text doesn't say there's one tree at the root of foundation, the foundation of the universe, or at the root of the universe. There is 4 trees at the root of the universe. And they said that the 4 trees were attached at the same root. Now I thought, well, wait a minute. Maybe they're still giving us only half the code. Maybe there's 8 trees, and they're only giving us the polarity, the half polarity of the code. I looked at my structure again that I had come up with from sliding the bottom into the top, and I realized I had extra lines. And these extra lines match the lines to generate the star tetrahedron. So if I got all the branches of the tree, and then I attach the 8 trees together, I would have 8 star tetrahedrons coming together to generate the 64 tetrahedron grid. And what told me had decoded this right was that by the time I was finished, I could now plaster the Cabalistic tree right over top of the 64 tetrahedron grid and get all the 9s of the 2D tree out of the 3D geometry. It worked. And hooked all together, it generated all the intersection necessary to build a 64 tetrahedron grid. And when I calculated this, then I saw that it could be done in many different ways. But one thing that was for sure, the Cabalistic text said actually there's 10 spheres. They're called sephirots, and they come from the word sapphire. Okay? So actually it's talking about crystals again. And it says that these sephirots are the joints between the pathways of creation. And it said that there was this 10 sephirot to one tree, but because they're all hooked to the same center, to the same root, which is called the crown sephirot, which is described as a point of indwelling where God falls or God goes towards infinity. Okay? Basically describing a singularity. When they say that, they say that one doesn't count. So you get 9 sephirot per tree. Well, if you have 8 trees and you've got 9 sephirot per trees, 8 by 9 is 72. And now you're right back to the 72 powers of God. And the code has brought you all the way back to the beginning in a feedback loop of coding information.
So it could be a power within the framework of our reality that has gotten so much attention over the years, even so that filmmakers will pay tribute to the Tetragrammaton, 1/64, all those things that were mentioned in that little brief synopsis there. And I think really what they do is put blinders on the public to occult practices, to these different things, because honestly, because I've had a background in that and researched it extensively from a lot of different sources, triangulating ideas, triangulating concepts, I had never noticed Hollywood doing this type of esoteric number sequencing. I just had noticed dates and stuff were kind of odd, but now that I'm pulling apart some of these theories that these guys come to the plate with, and I'm very grateful that they have, I can see just how much of a ongoing ritual our reality is. It's just all it is. It's probably been going on for thousands of years, and what makes it hard for lay people to understand and see, they are so focused on their short lifespan that has been presented to them, and we have such a fast-paced world that they're just trying to get in what they can so that they can validate their life existence. What I find cool about this geometric structure that starts just with a circle is that you'll get these representations of infinity or 8 there. It just seems that that number is important. This 88 can be seen right there. This is where I get into polarization nations breakdowns. I hope he just doesn't get mad that I use clips from here, but this is what really started me into looking into this thing. And there are other people that do breakdowns, but I believe he is right in saying that, well, people just do surface level stuff and then they just drop that. They blame it on, you know, synchronicity or mystical synchronicity. I forget the terminology some of these other channels use, but that's it, and they just drop it. Well, if it's apparent to me, it's apparent that something's going on. So, and I don't really care about being considered crazy. I'll just break down the numbers and do all this stuff on my own if the videos aren't taken well, or people start saying that I'm plagiarizing. I'm not plagiarizing, but yeah, we have
terrorists. Now they might look Arab, but they're driving a Nazi-made vehicle of the color of Israel's flag.
You know, all this stuff is pretty clear. Now you got the Twin Pines Mall, and it's 116. Before it was 133, and it was the Lone Mall or something, Lone Pine Mall. Now Lone is come up. It's like the new buzzword for the media with the terrorist attacks. That's why I find all these 16-year correlations to be quite, you know, shocking or spooky.
Running through this film, you've got a tower getting hit. And then you've had an attack at the Twin Pines Mall. People have tried to decode Back to the Future before, and they always point out references to 9/11. Take the Luciferian inversion, and you can see it for yourself. They're saying there's 2 9/11s.
And I believe that too. I believe what he is saying because I hear prominent military commanders and figures that were prominent during 9/11, like Rumsfeld and stuff, saying that like there will be another 9/11 type event, like a bigger event. So, you know, I just think it's more predictive programming just in the media, not only these movies showing it, but it's just apparent that something's about to happen. 116 is the runtime of the original one. And then you have your July 3rd, which is really close to the orbital insertion date of Juno. And I pretty much had the same, I realized that at the same time that I realized that Juno is the shape of the flux capacitor. 31 years. And why 31 years is important is, you know, they had the whole, and February 21 just happens to be 32 years, 7 months, or you could round it up. It probably will end up being later than that because there's a delay in the mission that I recently watched. Happened like October 21st or something, which is, again, odd because that is a Back to the Future date. So yeah, here you go. Even their conference, they have the as above, so below. Jupiter, the 5th planet, you know, referencing the 5th dimension, time, space. And what I thought was funny is Scott Bolton. I didn't think about this, obviously. I was just breaking down this Juno shit before Midsummer. But Scott Bolton, like, I mean, even his name has correlations to the Back to the Future series. Like, what's his name? Doc's famous line is "Great Scott," and you know, there's a big lightning theme throughout the series where he has to connect the thing. Great Scott Bolton, like a bolt of lightning. He's got this. We'll go back a little bit. Scott Bolton has a streak. I've seen a lot of interviews, but recently, through this summer, he's had this little like streak right here. A bolt of lightning in his hair, you know? And he winks. He winks there. I mean, if you see my breakdowns of Juno, those things. Alright, so this is a video I made back in August, 8/16/2016. Alright? Scott Bolton. I didn't touch this. This is originally how I had titled this video. Scott Bolton is an OG shapeshifter known as the 3333 legend. Some also call him the finisher, as you can see here. I had no idea this conference was so calculated, and I've said this before, this conference is like Easter Egg City. Links below. So I've done, like, and it's funny, like, I thought this was a funny video, but it's only got 44 views. You know, obviously they're trying to suppress this one. Maybe there is something going on. But I noticed that right at the 30, they did this little conference, and then they closed it out, and it was exactly 33 minutes and 33 seconds. And it's like he almost, like, looked up at a clock to, like, see. I don't know. Just watch. That's what they wanted. Maybe that's what they wanted. Like, where it seems like he's messing up and stuff. Because watch this.
Satellites, and in the look at the time you saw that Fran just showed, the footprints of those are in the aurora. So there's an umbilical cord through the magnetic field that's tying those moons into Jupiter, and they're sending particles back and forth. And when the particles from those moons go into Jupiter, they light up.
It's symbolic. It's kind of cool. Okay, so watch how he closes, though. Watch how he closes.
I hope you all join us. We're getting really close. We're really excited. We want to invite everybody along for the ride. Come see us on July 4th. Thank you.
Boom! 3333. I'm telling you guys, they're a little better than we think. Did you see that close? I have watched this for a long time. Like, I reviewed it a bunch. Not once did I realize the precision of it was just executed. That was brilliant. I'm starting to rethink this whole thing. I mean, I constantly keep rethinking the whole thing because 33, I mean, you can, I'm going to illustrate how 33 is really 8 and how those numbers are just interchangeable. Like, you know, you can overlap 33s and make them look like 88s if you, like, flop over one in a mirror image and compress it. So not only do you see, like, the triangle, their little, like, mission logo for this thing was this little, like, upside down thing. So I thought it was really funny that it's like the inversion of the flux capacitor 31 years later. It's crazy. You know, Scott Bolton is a legend. Watch the video. They're using words and embedded commands. Like, if you know anything about that practice, dude, it's so obvious what they're doing. It's so obvious. They're just trying to brainwash you into thinking that they're actually doing stuff. You see that wink? And I just can't get over the as above, so below. If you put those two shapes together, you're going to get the hexagram. And we're being told there's two 9/11s. And I'm going to get back to this because this guy he's telling the truth. I mean, Doc holds these two things up. 119, 119. 9/11.
have to warn you about the future.
See? It changes to 9/11. Twin Pine Malls. It was from the Lone Pine Mall. One tree. And, you know, two going into one. The Y is a two going into one. It's like the crossroads merging. The flux capacitor. The Juno spaceship. It's a Y. Androgyny. That's the big theme with polarization nations. All the predictive priming of transgender. And then all of a sudden it's like this big thing. That is one of the reasons why I came back to watching videos about the bullshit media. Because of Orlando and just how much that event was programmed into everybody and how it was just unfolded this summer, right before the election cycle, just to enforce the fact that ISIS is the problem and all this other crap. It was a fake event, following all the gay LGBT priming. It's unbelievable that people can't see the giant rolling gears at work here. Yeah, but more about the lone. Lone's like the new lone wolf. It's like the buzzword right now. Okay? And even further, there was a school shooting at Alpine High School down in Texas. Like, all these things are just like weird to me. Lone. Elon Musk. The lone scum. So here's lone scum Elon Musk releasing, this was last year exactly, releasing his little going door piece of crap. But it was the first time the public saw it. And now it's going to be released this year. But look at this other company. I didn't even catch this. So these are recent articles this year. And they're already like 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL or the DeLorean. Like this, let's just click this. So yeah, this is Forbes, came out about a month ago. And yeah, it's just, it seems like they were sent through a wormhole from 10 years in the future. That's how revolutionary they are. Model X, you know, we have the Y of the DeLorean in the movie, and this is the Model X from Lone Scum. You know, this is an acronym for lone. This is an acronym for scum. This guy is an actor, just like everybody else on the main stage. They're all actors. You know. The going doors on the 1955 Mercedes-Benz. And the Mercedes-Benz symbol is what? A peace sign, which is opposite of the Y. And this is the X, the Y and the X axis of time. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna go to another article. Wait, okay, so what is this about? Are you serious? So you see Tesla also has a Model Y too. They're ditching the Gullwing on it. But look at this. This is Frisker's new Tesla fighting electric car. Let's see what this is. So it's not really Gullwing. But they released this article. I'm not even going to look at this article, but they released it October 21. So this is 31 years after Back to the Future. Yeah, so this is him.
When I first got a gasoline SUV, and I had twins, and
taking pictures of it. I mean, it's like a badass car. I'm not gonna lie, but
we wanted to have an opening that was big enough.
He did this last year, like around this time.
Even if you have kids,
and I think the car is released this year.
Just press the
like 2016. It was
the seats will go forward, and I can step directly in.
So there's even a, wow, there's even like another row of seats. That's crazy. That's like that, oh, it's a SUV, I got you.
It's also
So I just saw this right here, 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds.
And then it also looks cool.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So,
Well, 30 years ago, an eccentric scientist and escape
So-
planning team went on a journey back to the future in a DeLorean just like this. Cue back. Open door.
Open door. I had the chance to sit down with the cast, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Walken, and Leah Thompson, in a Today exclusive for a look.
so this is October 21st.
Pop culture phenomena.
And, hold on. So I pointed out there, but you got the two Pepsis. They look like the Twin Towers to me. Why not? And they got the flux capacitor on display.
Sunset Boulevard, and I went past the Cinerama Dome, and when it was playing, there were lines around the block, and people were like coming out and moving and hollering, and it's amazing. Like, my life just changed.
There's the Beantown, the double blink, and 16 right there. That's
30 years later, we are still talking about it. Michael J. Fox.
So that was last October.
And Leah Thompson.
And this is an article that came out last October about, you know, the Cubs almost making it. And then this came out like a couple of days ago about the shoes. And these are like the official ones. There are only 89 of them. And it was auctioned off in Dragon 8. It was like an auction house named that for $104,000 for one pair. It's crazy. He just released a car with gull-wing doors. It looks like a DeLorean. And this is all happening 31 years after the original release of Back to the Future. And what I think happened last year was there's media hype on it. And they wanted you to, I don't know, like fake you out last year that it was really in line. But like I said, that 1 year gap, people aren't counting in. And right now, like the Cubs are in the World Series. They just like clinched, or they're in the World Series. They won their game. Even if they don't believe in this stuff, this movie series, if you had seen it, was supposed to program you into realizing that 9/11 was planned, and that there was also a 2/16 event that probably is going to happen, or there's a lot of events coded for our future just in some of the dialogue that Doc says, and I'll get into that in a little while. And I like what he says. Jason James says, basically, like, if you understand concepts like motif, theming, this is very basic, and this is very eerie to me that they're able to pull the blinders on a large part of the population that, I don't know, just doesn't want to believe that this is predictive programming, or just outlining our timeline in videos. Like, nobody wants to believe that there's people that are smarter than them, or that there's people that are controlling them. That's just basically all it comes down to. Their egos would just be so crushed to find out that there is a layer of reality that they had no idea about. Wow. Well, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. So that's all I have to say to the people that don't put a second into research, yet they know everything, and they watch mainstream media as their fucking source. Oh my god, it just drives me fucking crazy. Yeah, but like he says, I believe there's going to be another 9/11 event. I mean, it's inevitable. The film actually points to it in a number of different ways.
I have to warn you about the future.
June 9th, 2014, okay? Now the date I'm not really focusing too much on, but it is 6/9. So, you know, wow, that was not even intended. But here, anyway, release of this game, the producer, his name is Hideo Kojima. He's like a ruse master. You can look it up. His games are really revealing of a hidden hand and of just how the world works and how it's different than how it's presented to us. Like, he was talking about nano machines and PMC before, like, it was even, like, on the news and, like, talked about as being a reality. And this most recent game was very odd. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but there were obvious 1984 references, and I'll show you right now. So, scatter your sorrow to the heartless sea. Back then, I thought to myself, like, what's he trying to say? Like, we're in 1984, and it's like, we are. But it even goes deeper than this, okay? Because if you go to the release, if he was saying it's 1984 and it was really 2015 when this came out, yeah, and so the game was released on 9/1/2015, which is 31 years from 1984. Set in 1984. 9 years after the events of Ground Zero. Let me just tell you that the prequel to this game was Ground Zero. And let me just say this too. He said that there's 2 Ground Zeros. This is, oh my gosh, yo. This was the producer said this. I'll try to find a video of him saying that. But people were saying that there were 2 Ground Zeros. So, I don't want to get into the game and the spoiling of the game. This game is ridiculous. Like, the coding within this game and the fact that the main song when you wake up in the game is The Man Who Stole the World, which I don't even know if it's a Bowie original, but Bowie does it. But he really likes David Bowie, and I found it really odd that he was tweeting out all these images of David Bowie and track numbers and different things, and people were freaking out saying there was like 9/11 coding in it, and there really was. But now it's so bizarre to me, because not only did Bowie die, like, after he released his game, his game he did that ad campaign saying it was like 1984 release, and everyone was like, oh wow. But I just like took the numerology and like was like playing with the time gap and shit. I don't know, it got me thinking on this like 30 or 31 year gap. And I think it's confusing me because there is that 1 year difference between like us and the media. I don't really know what I'm trying to explain, but like Y2K happened in 2000, and then nothing happened, but something happened a year later. And then same thing with the Back to the Future, where there was all this hype on the 30-year gap from the release. Nothing happened, but now 31 years and the Cubs are in the playoffs. Not only the playoffs, but now this year they're going to the World Series, whereas last year they failed to. So do you get how last year, even though it was 30 years, was misleading people to believe that the series has come and passed and that there will be no prediction? It is the cable that essentially gets them to time travel in the movie. The first one, right? I think it is. And there's all this cabal references. Cable, cabal. So the reason I find Stephen King funny is because he has the correlation with the JFK shooting. He has a book that he wrote in 1986, which is 31 years ago, or 30 years ago, that's getting a new adoption in 2017, and it correlates with the media BS that's going on with the clowns. Like, it couldn't be any more obvious that the clown shit is either predictive programming for that movie or another event. So, yeah, Stephen King, it's just creepy that he has that book I already explained with the date calculator, and then he had a movie made in 1990, which happens to be 26 years from today, but the release of the movie is going to be 2017, which is going to be 31 years from 1986, the original release. Okay, so I've never seen the movie, but I've seen the clown. I've seen it in the horror section, like if I've been at a rental place a long time ago. But it came out in 1990. What day, you ask? 11/9. Or 11/18, sorry. I'm already breaking it down in Gematria. But this can break down to 9, obviously. So you got your 11/9 right there. To 11/20? What's that mean? There's like a release window. So the 11/20, that could be a 31 number of episodes. There's more than one episodes. Oh, it was an aired thing? Oh my gosh, it's creepy. So that's when it came out. That's when the video adoption came out. It's 2017 when this comes out. Will be 31-year gap from the original release of his book. So do you see this giant like 31-year cycle that they're doing? It's crazy. Or 30 if you look at as the majority of people experiencing it. Maybe that's what it is. It's 30 years from the time when the majority of people experience it. It's creepy, dude. Makes me wonder about all this drama we see in the media about it. Is it just like them paying off the media to pump this propaganda? Seems like it. Or is there going to be some sort of event around clowns? And like this film might not get released because it's like people are going to be upset about it. Ageless shape-shifting evil that awakens every 3 decades. You see what I'm saying, people? Do you see what I am saying? So this is at the very end of a cutscene.
It's not over yet.
That was at the very end of like the special features